Shock. That is the only way to describe the collective feeling of the NBA world when it was announced that Marcus Smart was traded from the Boston Celtics. For the last 9 years, you couldn't think of Celtics basketball without mentioning Smart's tough, hard-nosed attitude. In many ways, he was the heart and soul of a team that made 5 conference finals appearances and 1 finals run in his time there. But now, that's in the rearview. The Celtics are moving on with Kristaps Porzingis and some draft capital in place of the 2022 Defensive Player of the Year. Meanwhile, Smart is headed to Memphis, where the Grizzlies hope some of his veteran leadership will rub off on this young, exciting team. For both the Celtics and the Grizzlies, it's the start of a new chapter. But for Memphis, this might be the trade that finally makes them serious championship contenders. Let's get one thing straight. The Celtics did get good value back for Smart. Porzingis was putting up all-star type numbers last season with the Wizards. He's a great rim protector who can space the floor for them and knock down shots. A pretty ideal fit next to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And while there's still questions about how Boston moves forward without Smart, especially at the guard spot where they will miss his playmaking, if you're a Celtics fan, you can sell yourself on the idea that Porzingis is a great fit and you've added 2 picks in the process. But for Memphis, this might be an even bigger win. Yes, they let go of Tyus Jones, who has undoubtedly been one of the best, if not the best backup point guard in the NBA the last couple of seasons. And yes, they had to give up 2 draft picks alongside Jones in order to acquire Smart. But Memphis is in a position to win now, and they already have tons of young developing talent on the roster, so they didn't necessarily need 2 more draft picks. In return, they get Smart, who at his best is a monster at the point of attack on defense. One of the best guard defenders in the NBA, who's grown as a playmaker and passer over the course of his 9-year career. He's not necessarily a scorer or shooter for that matter, but we'll get to that later. Where Smart will really make things hum even more is on defense, where the Grizzlies already have the 2023 Defensive Player of the Year, Jaren Jackson Jr., patrolling the paint alongside a hopefully healthy Steven Adams. Pairing Smart with Jackson and Adams should make the Grizzlies one of the best pick-and-roll defenses in the entire NBA. Picture Smart fighting over screens and providing rear-side contests while either one of Jackson or Adams play in a deep drop and the other is ready to contest shots on the weak side. It is a tough formula to game plan against. It should make a defense that has already ranked in the top 10 the last 3 seasons a surefire top 5 defense night in, night out. And despite Ja Morant and Desmond Bane not being the best of defenders at the guard spot, especially Morant who struggles to navigate around screens, inserting Smart into transitional lineups and having him guard your opposing team's best guard or wing helps ease the load on the Grizzlies' star-studded backcourt. He is essentially their replacement for Dillon Brooks defensively. And while Brooks is bigger, Smart is a much smarter defender in the way he picks and chooses when he wants to be aggressive. Like Brooks, Smart can guard up in size and can be tasked with guarding the bigger wing players as well as defending your prototypical guards. On offense, however, things do get a little tricky, especially when Morant returns from his 25-game suspension next season. The Grizzlies will have to trot out a lot of 3-guard lineups with Morant, Bane, and Smart alongside Jackson. And that could cause some issues when dealing with bigger teams, or it'll force Smart to come off of the bench, something he really hasn't ever done in his career. Smart also isn't a knockdown shooter, hitting on 33% of his threes in the last 3 seasons, a pretty subpar percentage for a guard in his generation. That can make spacing really tight between Morant, a non-shooter, and Adams, a big man who doesn't spread the floor. It'll put a lot of pressure on Bane and Jackson to be your release valves from behind the arc, and while they're more than capable, it could make things harder on Morant, who needs space to operate and get to the basket. But there is shooting elsewhere on the roster to counteract Smart's lack of shooting. Luke Kennard is a dead-eye marksman, and Santi Aldama can be a good stretch 4 option as well to insert into lineups. So the lack of shooting from Smart shouldn't be too much of an issue. The Grizzlies just have to be smart with their lineups, no pun intended. Where Smart really helps the Grizzlies offensively is as a passer and playmaker, an area of his game that has grown considerably over the course of the last few seasons in Boston. Smart is a great connector who can make the extra pass. He isn't afraid to attack the basket, draw defenders, and find an open shooter on a kickout. Just last season, the Celtics generated 2.5 more assists per 100 possessions with Smart on the floor, and 4.87 assist points per 100 possessions as well. The Grizzlies have notoriously struggled as a team in the half court over the last few seasons, ranking 22nd in the league in efficiency in the half court in the 2022-2023 season. A big part of that was missing a connector like Smart, and instead having players who let the ball stick too much like Brooks. And you might be wondering, okay, then why did they let go of Tyus Jones, who is also a great passer and playmaker? The issue is, Jones isn't the defender that Smart is. So now the Grizzlies don't have that drop off when they insert another playmaker into their lineup. So in summary, as much as Smart's shooting woes could hurt them, the Grizzlies have enough shooting talent around Smart to counteract that. On top of that, his playmaking and passing chops will help elevate their lackluster half-court offense. And even beyond the on-court fit, which is seemingly pretty snug, Smart will help bring a much-needed veteran presence to the Grizzlies locker room. After the Morant saga this past year, it was clear that Memphis needed more adults that could rally the troops in that locker room. And while they do have Adams, who is a veteran leader, adding Smart, who I must reiterate, was the heart and soul of a championship-level organization for almost 10 years, will surely help stabilize any kind of drama that occurs on that team. Smart is also good insurance for when Morant misses time, and because their star is expected to miss the first 25 games of the season, the Grizzlies, with Smart involved now, probably won't skip a beat. And once Morant returns to the lineup next season, Smart can help elevate what the Grizzlies already are on defense, while providing a spark on offense through his playmaking. This was a championship-level trade for Memphis. The Grizzlies have toyed with contender status for the last couple of seasons, but adding Smart now makes those dreams a reality. They're not done. There's still an entire offseason left for them to address any lingering issues, but make no mistake, by adding Smart, the Grizzlies have only elevated their chances to actually win a championship over the course of the next few seasons. That's how monumental of a player Smart can be for that franchise. A franchise that has emphasized grit and grind for an entire generation just got the player in the NBA that embodies that the most. A perfect pairing, and one that might finally take that franchise over the top. Don't believe me? Just ask the Celtics fans who are still sad over his departure. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button and make sure to check out our other NBA videos as well. Take care.